La Signora was the 8th of the 11 Fatui Harbingers. Although she was killed by the Electro Archon, there still is a lot we don't know about her. So, in this video, I'll go over her life before the Fatui, her time as a Harbinger, and what we may learn about her in the future, including my thoughts on her potentially coming back in some way. Also, if you like this video, consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot and I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, let's move right on and get into the video. Over 500 years ago, before the events of the Cataclysm, Signora did not go by that name. In fact, the Fatui likely did not exist at this time, and Conria would not have been destroyed yet. During this time, Signora was a young maiden who went by the name of Rosalind Kruska Lohefalter, and lived in the Nation of Freedom, Mondstadt, where she would sing lovely songs in the town square. While living in Mondstadt, she met a member of the Knights of Avonius named Rostam, who she would eventually fall in mutual love with, and they would start a relationship together. Later, Rosalind would leave to study at the Academia in Sumeru. Before she left, Rostam would give her a special hydro timepiece to keep track of how long she would be away. During her time as an apprentice at the Sumeru Academia, she learned to study the art of liquid fire, a technique that is now lost to time. It is unknown whether she once had a pyro vision in order to use this technique and got rid of it sometime after the Cataclysm, or if she had some other method she learned at the Academia to harness the power of pyro. Speaking of the Cataclysm, it began while she was still in Sumeru. After realizing what was happening, she left Sumeru to return home and find Rostam. When she was finally able to make it back to Mondstadt, she learned that Rostam had been killed while in battle against the monsters that had emerged and began to attack Mondstadt. Consumed by her grief, Rosalind used the power of her life's flame to become the embodiment of liquid fire herself, the Crimson Witch of Flame. She wanted to cleanse the world's crookedness and avenge her lover, and so set out on a quest to destroy all monsters who had invaded. While she only attacked these monsters, she still became feared by the people due to her power. The liquid fire took quite a toll on Rosalind though, leaving her scarred and burned across her body. It also slowly started burning away her heart, meaning she soon would die. However, she would soon meet someone who wanted to help save her life and give her a second chance. So now, let's get into her time in the Fatui, and how Rosalind became Signora. After following a burnt path of destruction, the first of the Fatui Harbingers, Piero, finally tracked down the Crimson Witch of Flame. He decided to make her an ally and granted her a cryo-delusion in order to suppress the liquid fire and save her life. She would join the Fatui and eventually rise to the rank of 8th of the Fatui Harbingers. She would go on to live for centuries, and over time became harsher in her actions, even using lethal force on her own soldiers. She would also become resentful of Barbados, the Electro Archon, as she believed that he could have helped Rostam and the others, but he was busy fighting Durin alongside Dvalin. One day, 500 years after the Cataclysm, Signora finally returned to Mondstadt to get revenge against the Electro Archon. In a surprise attack, she forcefully stole his Gnosis, knocking him and the Traveler out, before leaving to return to Snezhnaya and give the Gnosis to Piero. After this, she would travel to Liyue, joining the incognito Geo-Archon Zhongli and his plan to see if Liyue was ready to rule itself. After the plan was successful, she was granted the Geo-Archon's Gnosis, meaning that she now had 2 of the Gnoses. She had also learned that Child had lost a battle to the Traveler, before returning to Snezhnaya once again. Later, she would make her way to Inazuma, once again having a role behind the scenes. This time, she helped propagate the Vision Hunt Decree and the creation of delusions for the Watatsumi resistance to use. Eventually, though, the Traveler would find out that she was the one behind everything, and they traveled to Tenshikaku to confront her. Once there, the Traveler would challenge Signora to a duel before the throne, with the loser being subject to divine punishment from the Raiden Shogun. The two battled, and with the Traveler being able to wield 3 elements, they were able to defeat Signora. Thus, the Raiden Shogun stepped forward and unleashed her Misono Hitotachi, which ended the life of La Signora. However, this is not the end of her story. While she was buried in a coffin surrounded by ice by the other Harbingers, there is still so much we don't know about her, which means there's a lot to theorize about. So, now I'd like to get into my thoughts about the symbolism behind her, what we may learn about her, and the potential for her returning in some way or another. To start off this final section, I'd like to go over some symbolism behind Signora, specifically her constellation and what it could represent. As seen in the Fatui constellation wheel, her constellation is that of a moth, and while we don't know the exact name of it, we can still theorize as to what it may symbolize. Moths tend to be attracted to light, even sometimes getting too close and getting burnt up because of the heat. This paralyzes Signora, using the liquid fire to cleanse the world's crookedness. She got too close to the heat, as it almost burnt up her heart and could have killed her if Piero had not found her. In Native American mythology, moths also represent rebirth, transformation, and the power of resurrection and regeneration. The transformation comes from the fact that caterpillars go through metamorphosis and can become moths, just like how Rosaline became the Crimson Witch using her life's flame, and also the Chrysalis during Signora's boss fight. Now, I bet some of you are very interested in the fact that moths can also represent resurrection and regeneration, and I am too. In fact, I believe that this could suggest Signora's return in one way or another, and that she might in fact be playable someday in the future, possibly around the time that we travel to Natlin. Natlin may have some inspiration from different Native American cultures, which is where the symbolism of moths comes from. And the title of the Archon quest there is very interesting as well. The title is Incandescent Ode of Resurrection. From what I can see, this title could have multiple references to Signora. Firstly, we have Incandescent. This obviously references the pyro element, as it is the quest for Natlin, but is also a word used to describe lights that moths are often attracted to. The next word is Ode, which I believe could either represent a song that could be sung in order to complete the resurrection, or also be a reference to the fact that Rosaline used to sing lovely songs in her town square. And then of course we have Resurrection, which I'm sure a lot of you here are interested in. While this resurrection could be for any character, all these pieces point towards Signora coming back in some way. There is also the fact that Signora evaporated into fire after she was hit by the Raiden Shogun's attack, meaning she may have finally been overcome by the liquid fire. Alternatively, she could have become one with the liquid fire, meaning her consciousness could still exist somewhere in the ley lines or somewhere else. In the teaser A Winter Night's Lazo, Dottore was seen burning down a tree, which may very well be an Emerzel tree, and it could be possible he was using the art of liquid fire to do so. This could be his attempt at trying to resurrect Signora, by letting the liquid fire absorb the power of the Emerzel tree, allowing Signora to have a physical form once again. If she does end up being playable, all these pieces are leading me to believe she will be Pyro, and that the liquid fire will definitely be a big part in her possible resurrection. Either way, there's still a lot we don't know about her, and I don't think her story is anywhere near done. She is now mentioned in Tartaglia's voice lines, which could point to her being playable someday, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.